So, good afternoon to everyone. Thank you for joining another episode of WAGE, Women Advocating for Gender Equality. Today, we're going to be talking about the separation of church and state. A lot of people often say that you shouldn't really publicly have discussions about politics or religion, right? Because it tends to turn into arguments. But there's a really good reason to have those conversations as long as they can happen in an adult way where your open-mindedness exists, right? And that you can share your opinions and hear others, right? So that you can share thought processes. However, when it comes to church and state, right, and public office, what best I think I can bring to you is after the French Revolution, right? They were knocking down every church, just taking away every artifact that they could possibly take away because they wanted to enforce atheism, right? And that's the disbelief in God. But your faith is your business, right? And it is your concern, and it's a private matter. And for that part, politics can hurt churches, but churches can't really hurt politics. So there's an unequal balance there. And plus, it's the issue of actually legislating morals. What is right? What is wrong? So there's a separation there because who's to say what's right and what's wrong? Depending on your faith or religion, you have different ideas about right and wrong, right? And in a truly democratic setting, those ideas should be, considered and valued. So, with that being said, I want to bring to you a guest today who reached out to me. Of course, this is on the heels from a huge story here in the city of Newark pertaining to one Dr. Lewis. It made headlines, some accusations, and there were several people as of now who've reached out to me. There's been people who've been sharing their stories on social media, and I believe that when you allow one person to share their story, not only does that add and supplement their healing process, right? But it also gives other people the license to come forward and to not feel that you have been hushed or silenced, right? Because silence is consent, and we don't consent to wrongdoing. And if you feel that something was done to you that was wrong, then you're validated it's wrong. So with that being said, I want to just introduce to you um, a very prominent member of our community. This is somebody that I think that you all know and respect. And basically, this person has his own story and he's going to share. And the reason it's really important to our community is that parents in our community often lean on the church when they're looking for role models for their young men. And with that being said, the church is a place, right, where we have preachers that are predominantly men or leaders in our community that are men, predominantly. And well, I won't say, yeah, I would say predominantly because I think that there are more women in the audience than it actually is in the pulpit. But again, that's depending. So, with that being said, guys, give me a few minutes. And when we come back, I'm going to introduce you to our guest for this evening. So, stay tuned. Okay, so we're about to begin, and I'd love to introduce you. And matter of fact, I'm going to allow him to introduce himself as I welcome him to the studio. Hello, and I'm going to let you introduce yourself and just tell the listening audience absolutely who you are. Okay, he fell from the. He's having some Wi-Fi issues, so you guys bear with me. Okay, he's back. I'm going to add him again.
Yeah.
Hi.
Okay, I'm here.
Okay, okay, I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
Okay, excuse me.
And just tell them who you are in terms of our Newark
Oh,
church. Can you hear me?
yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay,
Listen,
great.
hello, everyone. Bless you. Can you hear me? Good. Listen, hello. My name is Bishop Kareem Askew, born and raised in the city of Newark, New Jersey, South Ward. I'm the founding pastor of the Restoration Tabernacle at 405 Chancellor Avenue in the city of Newark. Um, And again, born and raised, I know so many. Went to Weekway High School, went to George Washington Carver. So Newark is my home. And yeah, that's it. So it's
Okay.
good to be here.
Okay, good stuff. So the interfaith community here, can you tell us a little bit about that and what that actually is?
Say it again, the community.
Interfaith Clergy Alliance. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yes. The mayor's office of the Newark Interfaith Clergy Alliance is um, a team of pastors, ministers, the faith-based leaders in the city of Newark um, that all come together for the betterment for the community, for the city, and for the people. We pretty much know, as ministers, we are to serve the people. Without no discrimination, without no judgment, without no fault. We just serve the people. And Reverend Lewis Roundtree, she's the president and the one that and the head of the um, Interfaith Alliance, and I love her dearly, and she does an awesome job as far as keeping everyone updated to what's going on. As far as the ministries and the churches, fellowships, and even the community and the people. So we do a good job being out there.
Right. So I want to just
So
dive
yes.
right into, the situation that we're going to talk about today. One Dr. Lewis. There was headlines over the weekend. The church community here in the city of Newark. A lot of issues there. Can you tell us how you know him, if you even do?
Well, being born and raised in the city, I also was born and raised in the church as well. Um, the church I grew up in first was on Springfield Avenue back in the day, right next door to the old Murray Steakhouse. And we had a beautiful edifice there back in the 80s, early 80s, and it burnt down. And we moved from there to Clinton and Seymour. And we've been having our church up for over 40 years, the church I've been connected to, in the city, been there for over 40 years.
Right.
So I've been born and raised in the church all my life. I branched off and started my own, but I've always been connected in the church and always fellowship with many churches in the city. And with that being said, um, Dr. Lewis, I've been knowing since my childhood. He would come to my home church and minister, what have you, and he would have a young man with him, and as his, I guess, adjutant or armor bearer, and this is what I would see and know with my eyes, and as oh Lord have mercy, that's been a victim of sexual abuse by the hands of clergy and in the church myself. There's certain things that stand out to me, as I sit back and analyze so much from down the years and the things, my personal experiences, and what people don't know is that, when they have that type of entity, that type of lust spirit on young men, they don't know that that the next person that have that same entity kind of do the same thing, you know. And
Right.
so again, what I read. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. If I could just pause you
You
for a
okay?
minute. Yeah, if I
Okay.
could just pause you for a minute. Um, Before we get into talking about this, because it's a very sensitive topic, I would like to personally know what motivates you to, talk on this topic today. Is it a situation? I'm sure people would think maybe you're hating on him, or do you have any animosities with this man at all? Do you know him personally? Just in short, what motivates you to want to speak to the community on this topic today?
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Um, um, yeah, again, I know him for growing up in the church, and even know him personally. Speaking to him as a brother and as an older figure, as an elder. Again, from the church and the community. And serving. This I do know, and I respect him. And I honor him. Just for him being a leader. You know, um, yeah, yeah, things that, and I can't take no one good from them. You can't take good from one. If they serve, they give back, they help someone, you can't take that from them.
Right,
But yeah, if there's something that's done wrong and it will affect someone else and their livelihood and their life, whether it's mental and or physically or emotionally, then that's an issue. And that's just something that just can't be overlooked and swept under the rug. And that's what the church has been doing for decades, for years, generations,
so
and
you feel that there
when
are
you
other
don't, okay,
victims. So you feel that there are other victims.
steady,
Do you feel that there are
absolutely, absolutely,
and what did you think when you
yeah.
first saw the article? What were your initial thoughts?
I'm being 100 with you. My opinion, I felt as if it was accurate. I felt as if it was true, simply because it's not. This not the first time stuff like this been said. I mean, if you read comments that was on the internet concerning this issue, people would you'll see someone saying that, yeah, this nothing new. This been heard before.
Wow.
You understand? And and I talked to someone who personally says he was you know had issues. And I let him speak for himself. But again, this is something that's just not the first, second time, heard. Or and I have my thing is the victim. People overlook victims. People
Right.
quick to say, well, as if you're innocent to prove it guilty, or or you can't be scandalizing someone's name, but yeah, it's still a victim. People don't just make up this type of stuff for fun.
Yeah. If you could,
People don't just come out with this.
yeah. If you could, I would like you to share with me, because one thing that stuck out from the article was that the victim, right, is a man that was 41 years old. And I heard a few people ask the question, how could you be a 41-year-old victim? What would be your response to that? Did you hear the question?
My personal experience,
Yeah.
my personal experience is when it happened to me in my late teens. The person that lured me in and preyed on me, I looked up to, honored him, I respected him. He, he was a bishop of the Lord's church, someone that my mother, looked up to, and just, it's so. when he told me, oh Lord, I really can't get into it because right now I have a lawsuit
Right, right, right.
going
But
on. You know,
yeah, listen, just stay focused on, the question if you can.
yeah,
What would you say to people who would
yeah,
ask the
but
question?
it's a personal. But it's,
Because you don't have to get personal, just,
say the question again. She said again.
yeah, sure. What would you
But
say?
but I'm talking about yeah.
Yeah, what would be your response to someone who would ask, how does a 41-year-old man become a victim, in this situation or any situation? How does a 41-year-old man become a victim? Like, what would be your
If they've never been a victim, then they can never relate. No matter how old the person may be, you don't know how it happened, what what got him there, what led him there. He believed in something. He had faith in something to help better his life. You know, that man could have been on the verge of being homeless. You
right,
know,
right, right,
you know. So again, you don't know. People don't know, and assumption. You know, it's no good for anyone. You know,
right.
again, yeah, he was 41 years old, yes, but you don't know.
So
And,
it could have been the
and
need.
yet, but let me tell
Mhm.
you how it, what the what was said that happened. Again, I can relate, and that's just what it is. The asking to take off clothes, the asking of, you know, um, it's just, and, yeah, I can relate.
Yeah.
I can relate, and again, when one does one thing, the same one that had that same spirit, that same feeling, lust, they do the same thing. They act the same way, not knowing that, yeah, it's more than just you. That's how they do. That's they that's their recipe of trying to get what they want from they lust, they demon. That's how they do. That's how
Do
they
you
do.
think do you think you think that is some
We
type
should. We're no longer.
do you think it's some type of brainwashing or cult-like mindset that is also affiliated with, acquiring the victims?
Within the church, absolutely, absolutely. There's so many. As we all know, there's nothing but women and females within the church. And in our urban community, the fathers are hardly there. For their children. So
Right.
mothers tend to go seeking leadership and fatherhood and role models for their seeds. Through leadership in the church.
Right.
What other better place to go than the church? You know, and uh, yeah, Lord have mercy.
Take your time,
So
brother.
yeah, the, yeah, the the faith, the ladies being vulnerable and just being naive and gullible to the fact. I mean, if you're going to a leader, if he's not married, if he's not, trying to get married, and he's that same way for decades. When the Bible say a man ought not to be alone, when a man said that when a man find a wife, he find a good thing and obtain favor from the Lord.
Right.
When the what's this thing? All right, listen, I'm telling you, I have. Oh, Lord, I'm going to right on nothing but
I think
molestation coming from.
you broke up for a little bit. Can you repeat the
Okay,
last things you just said?
yeah, uh, okay, I said it wrong, but yeah, me just telling my truth, and my personal experiences would bring light to the fact of what's going on, as what's being covered up and hidden. And I mean, I understand. People don't want to expose anyone. I get it. I don't want to either. But when a person don't want to admit that they have an issue and don't want to repent and want to destroy another life. I mean, listen. With me, I didn't like that. I don't. I didn't become I'm homosexual.
Right,
That's not my lifestyle.
right.
Never will be. Never will be. But there's those who've been turned out by the church. And now that's their lifestyle.
Wow.
And they don't speak on it because that's their lifestyle. Where sometimes they think on it, dwell on it, and they try to fight it. They want to overcome it and be normal. They say want to be straight, but yet it's a fight. It's a fight, and I understand. I get it. I see it. I have brothers that it's amazing how through this. I say these. Listen, what happened to me was in the in the 90s. It happened to me in the 90s when I was a teenager, and all these years I've been fighting because the person that did it to me was is now deceased and dead and gone. So now all that hatred. I'll never forget when my mother called me and told me that he died. Instead of being happy about it, I became more upset because I didn't get my hands on him. You understand? All these years, I'm upset at everything and everyone that even act as if they have that type of tendencies or that traits of what that man, how that man did me, came to me. So so yeah, yeah. But
Mm.
it's so much. It's so much, and no one is talking about it. And people are committing suicide.
Hmm.
People. It's deep.
Hmm.
It's deep. It's deep.
I
It's
read a
deep.
post. I read a post today on social media, and like I said, because it's been a very hot, sensitive, of course, topic recently. Like I said, I've seen people posting about this on social media, and one young man spoke, and he used the word rape. He also went as far as to say that some politicians was aware, and I'm not going to get into his post, but he named two politicians, and this I think happened years ago, that was aware. And the reason I'm not naming their names because, like I said, it's allegations. So I don't want to do that. But at the end of the day, I want to know, when you have the politicians working closely with uh, I'll say religious leaders. I'll say that because sometimes people are pastors, you're a bishop. We have different titles in the church. So I'm just going to say religious leaders. Do you think it's a conflict of interest there?
Absolutely. But you know, my issue is with the church
Okay.
because the church is not standing up the way they need to be standing up. They're not. The Bible says that the government shall be upon his shoulders, not the other way around. And it's as if the church is kissing tail, is promising, when it should be the other way around. I don't when I see any politician, I don't care who it is, the mayor, governor, president, I'm not gonna go crazy just to, act as if I'm worship or as if they're idol. I've seen a lady, a minister, get on Paul. I was on on Interfaith Clergy Alliance call, and this minister got on the call, and instead of talking about the business with the city and the community, this,
Right.
this lady started breaking down and crying and thanking the mayor for something that I don't think was the time nor place for.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting back watching. I'm like, it's too much. It's too much. I don't know if it's going to add on to any ego or make anyone feel more big headed.
Right.
But we're not here for this. We're here to talk about what's going on in the city. There was a killing last night. Someone got killed last night. Someone OD and died in the street last night. Let's talk about that versus kissing somebody, but I don't want no one. And that's what I have a problem with the church. We're not standing up and rising up like we should. Even in our shortcomings, even in our failures, we still don't rise up because everyone come to the church for help.
Right.
Everyone.
So I'm sure the reason why I say it's not just the church and that it's the issue of church and state, because in the 60s, what happened is once those 501c3s got issued, right?
Right.
It put limitations on the church, right? If you wanted to continue with your tax exemption, so when you're talking about the churches rising up, so that rise up is going to be synonymous with you potentially putting yourself at risk to lose that 501c3 tax exemption. So I'm sure that plays some role. I'm sure that it does.
Absolutely.
But do you think the community as a whole is is turning a blind eye to what's going on in the church, or do you think that most of the community is just naive and don't realize it, or like what are your thoughts on that?
There was a killing outside of someone's church, a pastor's church. I called that pastor and I asked him, hey, Doc, we're not going to come outside and have knock on some doors and have a protest about the killing that just happened outside your church. His response to me was, Doc, I don't live up there. He lives down in South Jersey.
Wow.
So he really don't know what to do. He don't know how to relate or come and just be there for. He don't know how to do it, and I get it. What his main focus and concern is his flock, those that walk in the doors, those church, and say, I'm a member here, and everyone outside is they're their own. And I'm like, wow. So, but what can I do? I got to keep on going. Got to keep on moving. Knowing what I'm faced with. But yet, this 501c3, the hush hush money. That's what I call it. The hush hush money. Is listen. I had a person tell me, a preacher, listen, I'm very independent. Let it be known, I'm very independent. I don't ask no one for nothing.
Right.
When it comes to my ministry, when it comes to my church, I built mine up from the ground up. So and I work hard. Thank God I'm able, to now have a good, a business, and but nonetheless, um, I don't kiss no one's tail for anything. And I had someone say, listen, I told the mayor, if I give you whatever you want, you good in my eyes. Just don't talk bad about me. Just don't say nothing negative about me. So and I get it. I get it. And again, but yeah, that's where the church fails to stand up. First, that's the issue at hand, and it need to be addressed. But
Help me make a connection, because maybe I lost something for a moment. When you said you asked the mayor not to say anything bad about you, connect that with what I'm not sure where that. I'm sure you have thoughts on your mind. I just wasn't able to. Yeah.
When as far as the 501c3 and the grants and those being given to the churches to leadership.
Oh.
And the public's eyes don't do it. And of course the municipal council, everyone during election time come to the church.
Right.
Around this time, the church is gonna be flooded. The church gonna be flooded with all council members, everyone coming. It's that time again. So again, I got you. If you just don't say nothing negative. And but the only certain pastors in the city get that. The so-called nobodies, the ones that got the little churches, those who just don't have that type of effect in the community. That's not out there. They really, you know, you don't. The city hall don't come knocking on their door.
But see, if I can, this is why I have the deep concern with the churches, right? Because to me, that sounds unethical, right? To me, it sounds like if City Hall or the current local administration or the mayor or whoever is allowing people to have contracts that it causes a conflict of interest, because if you allow that entity to come, for example, people know that I'm running for mayor. Would I be allowed to speak in those same churches or have that same access to share what my particular platforms would be if I'm not able to provide contracts, or anybody for that matter who may be running for at-large seats, but they're not incumbents, or for whatever council seat it is? To me, it just sounds like really unethical, and that's why I keep saying there needs to be a clear separation of church and state, because
Right.
you're gonna enter the muddy waters no matter how you try not to do it. And again, it impedes on genuine democracy, where people have their rights, and they have a right in it's the Constitution, right? Everyone should be able to have a voice, everyone. And
Right.
so what happens when this type of situation happens at a church that is in receipt of said contracts, so whatever monies coming their way, because I know that some churches have charter schools in the community. So what happens when something like this comes out about a church? So do you think that that's the reason why people will turn a blind eye to what's going on? And with that blind eye, how does that impact, right? How does it impact that person, that victim, you know? And that's what my concern is.
You know, the, it's heavy when the leadership tends to not make victims the first priority versus a building or a school, or I mean, but clearly it has to be about money when you get all back, when you get down to it, and our black people, it's um, it's more than it's too much. It's overbearing. It's too much weight, for a leader to just drop everything and just put that victim, ahead of all, and just handle that situation, handle that. What got that person, to be so angry and mad at the world? What happened? Find out what happened. Stop everything. The Bible says when one person comes to Christ, heaven stop everything it's doing and begin to rejoice for that one soul.
Right.
Why you can't stop everything for that
Right.
one soul?
We're gonna
And
bring somebody on shortly to address that. But first, I have another question I'd like to ask you really quick. And this is the $1,000,000 question, right? Should we as a community be concerned that the current the current council candidates, we have 2 church leaders that are running? Is that something that we should be concerned about at all? In your opinion, of course.
only reason why I support church leaders running for political office is because my faith is, and what I would believe is that that person have a heart of God Himself and will make decisions according to what Christ would do. You understand? So, those concerning the city of Newark, Reverend Roundtree, she's running for council at large, and me, I truly and wholeheartedly support her for her running for office. I've seen her works. She's out there heavy with her high heels on, up and down the streets of Newark, doing the works, the works. I've seen it. I've been there. And, whether she's getting paid or not, the fact of the matter is she's doing the works. There's some people who getting paid and not doing the works, so
No,
I support her. I support her. As far as the other candidate, you know, um,
Patrick
me,
Council.
myself, myself, I don't support simply because um, uh, there was an issue. I'm on Chancellor Avenue. I'm born and raised on Chancellor. That's my quote unquote hood.
Right.
My church is on Chancellor Avenue, and thank God for the past 4 years, by my ministry being out there on Chancellor Avenue, there have not been no murder, no killing on Chancellor Avenue, and for over 4 years. And I praise God for that. I thank God, give God the glory for that. To God be the glory, because um, that's by being out there, being connected with the people, having relationships with the people, serving, giving food, just questioning, counseling, and just being there with the people. Even though I have my shortcomings and my issue, I'm still there with the people. And so there was an issue one time. Pastor Patrick Council came out there, and he said that he walked up to me and the fellows that was out there on the corner. He said, um, this was the worst block in the city of Newark, and kind of joked about it, and but I had an issue with that because
Do
you're a
you think
leader,
he was, in fact?
on top of that, nah, no, because you're not from out there.
Okay.
You don't. We don't know the people. I mean, the people know you for as far as working in the city, but you're not from out there.
Okay.
So I don't think that was we should it yeah, because what we're trying to do is better this community. We don't want we try to help. People out there surviving, struggling. We're trying to help, but come out there and speak opposite as a leader. That's a no. That's a
Right.
no.
Right.
Now you want to come out there and ask for support. And you don't do nothing for one out here.
Right.
That's just my goal with it, and I won't take it back. I won't take it
Okay.
back. God
I
bless
mean,
them.
you're entitled. Yeah, you're
May heaven,
entitled.
bless them. But
Title. If it's okay, I'd
yeah,
like to bring on
yeah.
another guest, and she's going to introduce herself and just share some of her thoughts and opinions, just about some of the things that we just talked about. So, Jessica, hello. If you could just introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Jessica Ville. I was born and raised in the city of Newark. I just really love what you guys are doing here. This is a topic that needs to be talked about in the community. This is like long overdue.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
very passionate about this topic. But I was really concerned listening to Bishop's story. I really do agree with the things that Bishop have brought about concerning the church. And I have my perspective on this very topic. And the crazy thing is, what you guys are discussing is in the book of Revelations. It talks about the militant and the economic battle in the book of Revelations in chapter 13. And it talks about basically, honestly, what means more to people. And as Bishop was talking, what he was talking about was concerning basically the integrity and the morals of the church, right? And
Right.
how people were getting, touched on and etc. But the only thing that spoke to me was the principles. It was the principles, right? Because between the Old Testament and the New Testament, right? What are your principles? What are your values? Living under the law of grace, being circumcised, moving in compassion. Because I mean, let's be real, right? We wrestle not against flesh and blood, right? And so, even with the and not to shout out any religious groups, but the Catholics, was a lot of that going on in the church, you know what I'm saying? And they were Romans, a Roman Catholic. So that's the militant spirit that talks about the military and the economic battle in the book of Revelation. And again, we wrestle not against flesh and blood. So we are wrestling against spiritual forces, right? And so when we bring that to politics and we bring that to the government, this is literally a matter of, like he talked about, surrendering. Like he said, he support the leadership in the church that do run for politics, because he's speaking of conviction. He hopes and prays that they be convicted on those things that are not righteous.
Right.
And so that they will do the people right and do bring justice to the community. The church is supposed to be for healing. And I believe there was a comment somebody made. The church is supposed to be for healing. You know how they say it takes a community to raise a child. And that's literally the truth. Mommy and daddy got to work, and the neighbors there. You got the city watch and all of these things. But like you were talking about, Miss Sheila, with the politics, right? They had the taxpayer, right? They had the tax collector, actually. And Jesus had told the tax collector to follow him. And he was basically rebuked from the community when he decided to follow Jesus.
Wow, that's true.
Right? So it's like literally, what's in our hearts, right? Because even in the book of Nehemiah, they did so much to build the Torah in the community. They rebuilt the wall. They did so much, but in the end, they still needed new hearts. And so I'm sorry, Bishop, what you had to go through. And I commend you on being such a strong warrior. Because honestly, anybody that goes through the things, I know so many people that got church hurt, but it's not because of the church. It's because of the spirits that flows around in the church. And anyone that are called, just like you, Miss Sheila, and I stand behind you. I believe you are called 3,000%. You understand what I'm saying? But anyone that are called, many are called, but a few are chosen. And I strongly believe that you are chosen. And so there's going to be opposition. There's going to be warfare. Over and over again, the cycles in the Bible, anytime that they were building something on behalf of the Father, there was always opposition. People always came against them.
Right.
And it's so much like this topic is definitely something that needs to be talked about, needs to be meditated on within the community, because like if your beliefs are not the same as mine, and we're not knocking nobody's beliefs, but how can you say that you are truly a shepherd of the people if you're going to lead them down a path that is not fulfilling to their soul? People are not being convicted enough. They're not being convicted, or they feel the conviction and they choose to opt on free will. Free will is darkness. It's the absence of light. And so God said, let there be light. He brought the light. He brought equality. He brought righteousness. He brought all those things that are good and that are upright.
So I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I do want to hear what Bishop Askew has to say about this, because it's just something that's weighing heavily to me. Because I have a concern, right, with the separation of church and state in terms of people in the church running for council. Case in point, I want to be very clear on this. When we talk about issues of lead in the water, we know that we received robocalls, everybody who lived here, saying that there was no lead in that water. The water was okay to drink. Everything was fine. After that, we found out that everything was not fine. And once that accountability was pushed, and again, it took a lot of people working toward that, including myself, because I was able to do outreach to Flint, Michigan, to actually bring some water activists here. Actually, even had people stay in my home to make sure that we pushed the level of accountability that would be effective enough for something to get done. And something did get done. The mayor eventually ended up penning a letter to then President Trump to ask for assistance with the lead in the water, not the pipes, but the lead in the water. So because that happened, right? And I know that you said earlier that, you mentioned that one candidate, did the work. And so, you shouldn't be letting people drink lead water, right? But if you want to say anything, if you're compromised, right? If you don't want to start trouble, right? And you want to be loyal to the entity that has brought you on, right? As said council person. So that's where I have the concern when there's just a conflict of interest. in terms of what are you going to do in that moral dilemma? Because in fact, that is absolutely a moral dilemma, right? What are you going to refer to for right and wrong? Because see, a lot of people lean toward the Bible, right? Or lean toward the Quran. But we do have atheists, right? We do have people who lean toward politics as their Bible, and that's a fact.
Right.
That's the fact. And to me, that's very concerning. You know, when we're looking toward leadership, especially toward a community that, like, so many young people are caught up in crime, right? In killing and matriculating into school to prison pipeline, school to poverty pipeline, right? We have some real issues. And in order to make decisions on who's going to take those seats, who's going to step into leadership, I think that we would be remiss if we wasn't giving some strong consideration to where do you stand on your morals? Where do you stand on, you know, your decision making? You know, and if you are a Christian, right? You know, will you choose God and doing what's right, right, by your laws of your Bible and your faith? Or will you choose what's right according to the political powers that be, or the lobbyists, right, who have the money to keep you in office or to make or break your campaign so that you won't ever run again? And those issues are important. And I think too many times we make a big decision and we're not really incorporating those types of concerns, because again, running a city is a very strong business aspect. And in our city, we have historically had a poor education system that has bred citizens who are not knowledgeable adequately as it pertains to politics, right? As it pertains to business. And now, unfortunately, in 2022, even as it pertains to writing cursive. So if something so basic is not being taught, right? And we're thinking on higher issues because we want Newark to come up, right? But that includes understanding, like what you mentioned earlier about contracts. It includes what you understanding about these developers that are coming here, and how does that impact negatively or positively for the native Newarkers that live here, right? And so we get how it's impacting the developers, the millionaires, right? We get how is and another thing, these abatements, right? These tax abatements. There was somebody who put something on social media last evening who he made a post that he resigned from City Hall. And then he followed up with several posts pertaining to how buses was being traded for tax abatement and how that was illegal. That's an issue. So when we have people who are from the church that know wrong is wrong, are they willing to have an independent voice to say, you know, I see what you're saying here, but I have to draw the line here and make my voice clear? Because right now, the council that we have in the current city of Newark, they move in terms of voice as one. There's no way that every single person in the east, west, north, south, central ward always, all the time, want the exact same thing. So I, you know, just think, in my opinion, that we have some strong concerns that we need to address. But in that, back to the situation, I want to start, you know, to bring this show to an end. If you had any advice to give to mothers, Bishop, what would that advice be? And I'm going to ask you to follow that up from mothers, right, to just to the listener audience, and just to whoever, because we have a lot of single mothers out there. We have a lot of single mothers who do take that, me included, right? That was one of the first things I did. You know, I was a single mother. I said, if I don't know nothing else, I'm taking my baby to church, you know? And I was young. I had my son at 19, and I still got his little christening outfit and everything. And what would be the advice that you would give to mothers as it relates to seeking that male role model / leadership that you mentioned earlier? What would be the advice that you would share?
Well, the Bible says for that gift comes without repentance, meaning you don't have to be so deep and heavy to have a certain type of gift, whether that's playing the piano, organ, drums, or, you know, being able to have speech, or just any type of a gift that you may possess. But I encourage mothers on today that to pray to God that they possess the gift of discernment.
Mm.
Discernment. Know that you know that you know that you know concerning an individual that you will want your seed, your child, your loved one to go to for guidance, for as a role model or as a leader. As for discernment, have discernment because if you lack it, then someone that prey on victims on people, they'll see that you don't have it and could take total advantage of you.
Absolutely. My next question: what message would you give to the victims? You just mentioned it, and I think it's very important. Like I said, because what you're doing, it gives others license to be courageous, to step out and start this healing. What is a message that you would send to other victims? Because there are many.
Talk about it. Let it out the way you see fit. Don't be ashamed about it. Don't hold it in because all it do is ball up hate, and anger, and and that will destroy you from the beginning to the end if you don't see it for what it is. Recognize it, call it out, and handle it for yourself so you could be free. It took me over 20 years to be free. The man been dead since 2000, the year 2000, and I'm just being free. Man, I'm going after people who had nothing to do with what happened to me. I'm just angry, but now I get it.
So basically, you're saying that it impacts your relationships, like even in your adult life.
Oh my God, relationships, family, marriages, children, friendships, I've gained so many enemies down the years. I'm keeping it 100 because of, my anger towards failed leadership, towards man, and not taking it directly to where it need to be handled. Go after those who did you wrong,
Right.
and handle it accordingly, and be free. That's what you do. And so my prayer to any victim is just, be free, be free in Jesus' name, be free, go, and know that you can always begin again. You could get up, you could do it, you can be free, and don't hate no one, even the one that violated you. Don't hate them. Be free, be free, be free.
Awesome. Awesome interview. I just want to thank you personally for joining W.A.G.E today. This episode, like Jessica said, this is very important discussion content that needs to start today, right? But not end today. Jessica, I don't know if you have some words that you'd like to share, some final words, please do.
My advice to the community is take the Lord serious. Because when you take the Lord serious, you are convicted. You are literally held for accountability to pray for your children, to pray. And I'm not saying people are not, but there is principles and there are oracles of God. And when you sacrifice and your sacrifice is not toxic, right? God, he honors his covenant with us. I can't say that I would need God to do this and that and a third for me and my children if I'm not willing to not live a certain way in my life that God is asking of me based on what my ancestors done invited in our bloodline.
Right.
Because the spiritual warfare, like what Bishop went through, that was spiritual warfare. Why did that happen? And so when you take God seriously, he honors his covenant and you honor the covenant with God. And so therefore you are led. Literally led. You have victory. Bishop, honors his covenant with God, and that's why he was able to withstand the yokes of the enemy. He didn't go to that wrong side. He actually learned to forgive. He learned to live a lifestyle of what would Jesus do. And so when you take your covenant serious with the Lord, that's when you get true results. So my advice to the community is take your relationship with Jesus seriously. Like, don't play no games. Don't straddle the fence. Say, you know what? Whatever I did before was what I did. But today, I'm not playing no more.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great stuff. Listen, thank you so much, both of you, for, like I said, again, just supporting W.A.G.E, coming on the show, lending your thoughts and your purpose to Team Newark. And we're going to continue to build. We're going to continue to grow. We're going to continue to change the lens, and we're going to push and open the door. Thank you again so much, and have a blessed rest of your day. Thank you for joining.
Please. Thank you.